We are here because we are dedicated to helping the entire CrossFit community. Determined to elevate coaches, box owners, athletes, and everything in between, we believe that this mission will begin right here, right now. While this time and this goal begins with you, our hope is that you take this fire ignited within you and weave it into your own life with the same unrelenting passion to give those you have the privilege of coming in contact with the best hour of their day.
All right, Fern, we've been digging in, doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on this intensity piece, and I think we're making headway to the people that listen to us, the people that watch our stuff on Instagram, that talk to us. Like, they're getting it. The light bulbs are going off. Would you? No, don't get me wrong. There's always dumb people. And
there's still haters.
Yeah, if you're listening, you very well may be one of those dumb people.
Was that quote? It's like, if you look around the room and you can't find the asshole, it's probably you.
You're the ass. Yeah, that's the gambling quote. If you can't spot the sucker in the room, you're the sucker. But we had somebody today comment on your quote about asking for Ferrari at a fiat price, I think it was. And they're like, well, some CrossFits aren't great. They are fiats. And I'm like, yeah, you're arguing something different. That's not what we're saying. If you go to CrossFit Rife, you're buying a Ferrari. And if you come in and ask for a discount, you're trying to get it at a fiat price. Same where I coach.
Again, same thing. Again, arguing an entirely separate topic, which is the whole quality assurance deal, right. Which is like, every CrossFit gym is not created equal. We all know that. It's a given. Please remember, guys, like when we're talking about these concepts, nothing applies across the board. What we're talking about in general is the vast majority of instances. Are there, not so ideal CrossFit gyms? For sure. Are there less than ideal CrossFit coaches? For sure. Just like every single profession. But that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to change that so that when we, bring everybody up as we come through, right? So like, if we don't address these things, if we don't talk about them, if we don't expose these weaknesses, then again, going back to what we posted the other day, then people are just, roaming around in ignorance, which is not what we're trying to achieve here. We're trying to get everybody to just be okay with the feedback and understand that, like, being bad at something is not only okay, it's the only way that you start any endeavor. Like, I'm not aware of anybody that started anything that they eventually became really competent at, that on day one they were good, or on day 2 they were good, or day 100 they were good. So it's okay. That's the whole point of this. It's just, but we're going to bring light to it, and the faster that we can all become okay with feedback, the faster we will improve.
I can't express eloquently enough or with enough detail how bad I was as a coach in 2007. And prior to that, I've been coaching human beings since 1993, when I was 15 and I got my first job at Club Fit.
Who were you coaching at the age of? Well, that's not true. I was coaching little kids when I was that age.
Yeah, I was the personal trainer. We did a assessment where you would do body fat, you would ride a bike, and then you would take them on the same 10 pieces of equipment. I gave an old man rhabdo. I'm confident of that.
Well done.
Knowing now what I know, because it was like, this is what I do. You're 70 and have never worked out. You should probably do it too. And, and then when you go into... When
you're 50, you're 5 decades older than me. This is totally appropriate.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I remember him as the guy Mandelbaum from Seinfeld, when he's like, Mandelbaum. And I'm sure that's not what he looked like, but I remember he wore, it's an old man when they wear the sweat outfit that's all the same color, like the blue on blue sweats. Like, this is my first workout outfit. I'm joining a gym.
I have one of those.
I want to get a all.
Is it weird that we talk about this all the time at the gym? So Reebok just sent us our most recent, like, care package, I guess, if you will, but like all this stuff, and they have that blue outfits, the blue puller, navy blue, and the blue pants.
Yes.
And everybody I know unanimously is like, that whole thing is dope. Like the top is awesome, the bottom is awesome, but everybody has a problem wearing them together. They're like, it's too much. I can't wear these at the same time. And I'm like, nope, I'm totally wearing these at the same time.
You can't replicate Adidas. Adidas did it well. LL Cool J, Run DMC, they popularized it. And I think it's one of those scenarios where if you're going to do it, you have to do it right. You have to go with the original way. And Reebok and all these other brands, you can't copy that. You can't mimic that.
Well, my point with that is like this one actually does look appropriate together.
But you can't pull it off.
I can. I don't know about you, but like
well,
I pull it off all the time. I walk in, people are like, I like that. And
I'd like for you to make that your podcast outfit. Maybe one of those Congo hats. Did you ever have a Congo hat back in the day?
Congo?
I think it was Congo. It's it was like
with the it had a kangaroo on it.
Yeah, but kind of like I don't know how you would describe that hat.
It's kind of like like
an old man, a derby hat you would call it, right?
It's not a fedora. What's a fedora?
Fedora would be taller. Fedora would be more like an old man hat.
The old golf hat.
Yeah, golf hat.
The Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, exactly. Well done. So anyway, in 2007, I was so bad as a CrossFit coach. Just what I was going to say is, for those listening that are accepting the fact that they're not great yet, lean into what you're good at. Lean into what you're good at. I was the presence and attitude guy. I can mask my terrible coaching, my terrible ability to see and correct by making it fun. If that's not you, coach the hell out of somebody. If that's not you, demonstrate, to the best of your ability. Lean into what you're good at and be working at stuff. But
right, it's the same. This is a good segue into today's topic about RX month. But it's the same guidance I would give an athlete in a workout that has a combination of movements that they're split down the middle on, that they're pretty strong at and then awful at, which is be good at what you're good at, manage the rest. So when you walk out on the floor, be good at what you're good at from a coaching standpoint, manage the other things and start developing a plan and with which to improve at those things. No different than you would in a workout where I'm great on the barbell and I'm awful on the gymnastics rings. Like, be good at what you're good at, like crush that stuff, manage the other things so that you can keep them in check.
Yeah, that's a great point. We did the 8 days of Hanukkah workout recently, and it was just, long, arduous, but there were some gymnastic movements, and, I would attack those, and then people need to think about that when it comes to their own workouts. And there's plenty of days you don't want to work out. My attitude is always, then do something you're great at. If you don't want to work out today, for me, burpees and toes to bar. If you don't want to work out today, do something you enjoy. And it's, there's a lot of overlap when it comes to coaching and your actual training.
I also think we need to make 8 days of Hanukkah more broadly utilized in programming and not the 12 days of Christmas. I think we need equitable distribution of those two holidays. I
agree, but what I'm thinking is we should do the 8 days of Hanukkah 8 days in a row. But
that's an awful idea.
Here's actually where I'm going.
That's bad. That's bad programming.
Here's what I think. I think gyms should shut down for Hanukkah. Like we shut down for Christmas, close down for all 8 days. Teach people. I was telling people during the class, I was like, if the Jews can get oil to burn for 8 days, which is what Hanukkah is all about, we can work out for 30 minutes. So I was giving them that. But yeah, I think we do need to focus on that. I noticed a lot of my friends do the Elf on the Shelf. Do you do the Elf on the Shelf? At home?
You said Elf on the Shelf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do that for the...
Funny story about that, everybody. A little insight into my life, Elf on the Shelf. Do you know what the elf's name is?
I don't. But you're not supposed to say, right?
It's Chippy.
Oh, is it really?
It's Chippy. So when Jess was pregnant with Chappie, so my son's name is Jason Chapman Fernandez.
Wait, okay? I didn't realize Chappie's name was Jason.
Right, that's the point. So
I had no clue. Here we are. I thought we knew each other.
Nope.
I've known you for 10 years. I hardly know you.
Little lesson, everybody. Ask more questions. You didn't ask one more, Jay.
Or listen better.
Right, listen better. So we would ask Logan, like, hey, what would you want your brother's name to be? And like, so the first day, what did she say? She said something like really crazy. It was just like
Frankenstein.
Right. Yeah. And I was just like, nope, we're definitely not naming him Frankenstein. And then like 3 or 4 days in a row, she went on. I was like, what do you want your brother's name to be? She's like, Chappie. And I was like, okay, well, we're not going to actually name him Chappie. And then the people that are in on this know, if you haven't seen Iron Eagle,
like
from
Louis
the
Gossett
80s,
Jr. movie,
right? His name is Chappie in that movie.
you would know that it's a
I
military
would,
movie.
right? So, is it a military movie? I mean, they had the military in it, but it's about as far away from a military movie as you could possibly get as far as accuracy. It's insane. It's up there with Red Dawn. So anyway, she said Chappie like 3 days in a row, and then we're just like, we don't know where she came up with that. And then later on, we found out that the teacher's like, oh yeah, we do an Elf on the Shelf, and she like the Elf on the Shelf's name is Chippy. And I was like, oh, so my daughter's speech problems actually have led to my son's what is now his nickname.
So so his name is Jason what? What's his middle name?
Chapman.
Wait, was that after the Chappie?
They kind of no. So we were like, hey, well, we like it. We're going to keep it, but we're not going to have it be Chappie. So like, what's the other thing? So we kind of looked through like, I like Chapman, like, give him multiple options. Like if you wanted to sound pristine or,
so his nickname,
like an asshole, like you could be like, my name's Chapman, and be like, all right, if you wanted to go that route, you could do that.
So his actual middle name was because
is Chapman
because
of
Logan.
Chappie, right?
Okay, so it wasn't the other way, because otherwise I'd say, hey, his nickname is based on the fact that you gave him the middle name Chapman, but it actually went backwards for you.
It went backwards, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but now everybody has this. Then everybody has this picture of Louis Gossett Jr. going down in a flaming pile of smoke into the ocean, and a 16-year-old kid who's apparently qualified to fly an F-16.
What do you think is
Chappie?
What do you think is the best military movie ever?
Are we talking about like over the top stupid, or are we talking about like accurate?
Anything that involves the military.
Ooh. Saving Private Ryan is very good.
You can't go wrong with that.
Greyhound is also exceptional.
What's the one with You Can't Handle the Truth?
Oh, A Few Good Men.
Few Good Men. Platoon.
Platoon's
the one with Gomer Pyle, right?
No, Platoon has oh my god, what is his name?
That's Oliver Stone, but
yeah,
which is the one with Gomer Pyle, with the guy from the old Law and Order show, Vincent D'Onofrio, and he was like really heavy in the movie.
You're talking about Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket, yeah, that one.
Yeah,
that one's
Predator, maybe? I don't know.
Is that military? Can you go Forrest Gump? Forrest Gump was in the military.
Forrest Gump was in the military. Predator. I yearn. If anybody wants an insight into the things that I truly want to happen at some point in this life, is to have a high five that is on the level of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers in that movie. That's all I want.
I think that should be our new logo.
Our new logo. both of us have some bicep work to be done.
Yeah, we need to do some curls. So let's dig in. Initially, when we started this podcast, what I was going to say is we've been leaning into this whole intensity piece, and people are getting behind it. When we've talked about teaching intensity, understanding intensity, the fact that your members don't need or want it every day. How do we scale other movements to maximize intensity? How do we do our best to preserve it? Well, if you've been following along and you know us well enough, we always try to give you tangible things, action items. And this is something we've discussed in the past, but it was worth revisiting. Fern created at CrossFit Rife RX Month. So Fern, you want to give a brief synopsis of what that is? And then let's talk about how the listeners, because, hey, maybe a good time, January, to give that a go.
Full disclosure, I think I created this, but I don't remember the genesis of it. I do think I made it though. So if I'm failing to give credit somewhere, I apologize.
I think I planted the idea.
Probably not, but the
Inception style.
So, oh, by the way, another tangent. If you have not seen Tenet,
dude, I watched it.
when?
Maybe last
I watched
week.
it last night. I watched it last night, and when the movie was over, I was like, I'm gonna have to watch this a dozen times to keep up.
I had
with
to
what
watch
the hell.
like 8 YouTube videos, and I still don't understand it.
The cinematography there had to be so difficult to shoot and choreograph. That was mind blowing. Anyway, I don't want to go off of that, but watch Tenet. It's an amazing.
I don't want to give away too much. But when
everything's
he fights
backwards.
himself, when he fights himself in that scene,
right? A lot of it. I'm just like, wait a second, what's happening? Great movie though. So anyway, with regard to RX month, what we were trying to do, and this is part of a larger conversation about how to make people, how to have deeper connections and deeper attachments to your brand other than just like, I work out there, right? So we have to transcend the coaching and we have to teach people things, whether it be physical, mentally, emotionally, spiritual, like whatever you want to do. But like you have to be an actual coach. And this is one of many ways to do that. So what we did is, typically when I look at a workout, when we think about RX, the prescribed variation of a workout, it is, we'll use something like Cindy, for instance. So Cindy would be AMRAP 20 minutes, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats. Okay, so that is, if I can do that for 20 minutes, if I get any number of rounds, I can do it prescribed, right? I can put RX next to my name. However, you and I would both agree that if I get 5 rounds of Cindy, I'm not entirely sure that in a 20-minute window that would fall in the intended stimulus. While you did do the workout as written, it is not the intended stimulus for Cindy is to do 5 rounds of Cindy. Okay. So this is where we kind of depart the hard and fast lines of, yes, it's measurable, observable, repeatable. I did these things as written. And we move into the somewhat more abstract nature of what's the intended stimulus. Okay. Because now I have rep ranges.
We've talked about this on those recent episodes. In order to do this well, you have to understand the stimulus. How do you do that? You do the workouts yourself.
Right.
You look at, especially classic girl workouts like that. You look at .com. You look at
go to Beyond the Whiteboard, like whatever
workouts in the games. Right. So you have to understand what the stimulus is.
And if you're not sure, there's so many, like Beyond the Whiteboard is a great one, right?
Or email us. Send us a workout and we'll tell you what we think is good.
Right. But there are workouts such as these named or hero workouts that have so many data points in there that it's very easy to find out, like, what is the actual intended stimulus, or like what is the bulk of the general population doing with regard to this. So with regard to that, I ask this all the time, especially when we talk about the programming at level 1 or level 2, is like, what's the intent? What's the gold standard in CrossFit? Don't think about the Chris Spielers of the world. What's the number everybody's shooting for in Cindy?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Like 20
rounds. Yeah. Everybody's like, if you can do 20 rounds, you fall in the fit category in my book. Like, you can do 100 pull-ups, you can do 200 push-ups and 300 air squats in 20 minutes. And I don't think that's a small feat, quite frankly. I know people kind of scoff at that at this point, but like, that's really hard to do. So what we did when we started RX month is we rearranged what the focus point was. And this goes back to a previous episode where I said, hey, listen, it's not that weights and rep schemes and movements are not valuable. We need measurable, observable, repeatable in order for this to pass the scientific sniff test, right? It needs to be able to be measured. However, there is value in putting your emphasis elsewhere, which is, what should the result be? So in something like Cindy, what we would do is we would give them a round and rep range, right? However you want to put that one. So instead of saying, hey, if you do 5, 10, 15 pull-ups, push-ups, squats, that's RX, regardless of how many rounds you get. What we would say is, guys, if you want to check the RX box for this workout, what we're going to say is, I don't know, I'm making this up, 17 to 22 rounds. I like 5, like, they're good numbers. If you get, regardless of what scaling option that you use for this workout, if you get 17 to 22 rounds, you get to put RX next to your name, because that's the intent. That's the intended stimulus.
3, 6, 9,
right.
5. You could do 3, 10, 15 if they struggle with pull-ups.
Right.
Now, can somebody scale
ring
up?
Rows.
Can somebody scale up?
For sure.
So I may say I might have to do like 10, 20, 30, or else I'll get too many rounds.
Well, so then that's a separate question, which is, okay, if you scale up, my first question is, what is your current score of Cindy? And if it's not high 20s, then I don't think you need to scale up. I think
I'm
you
in
need
the
to
50s. I'm 50 plus.
Probably not. But I think the highest score I've ever heard is 38 or 39.
Yeah, I think that was Spieler back in the day.
Spieler.
I think my best ever is like 27, but I would say the push-ups were probably a bit suspect if I was getting that many these days.
My best ever is 28, actually. Yeah, and I'm not saying that because it's one more than you, but
definitely did not break parallel. But I think about 22-ish.
Listen, if you guys want to talk about breaking parallel, I need you to go back to now Coach Jason Ackerman's when he's teaching the air squat and watch him demo the air squat, and you guys tell me if that's below parallel.
I got feedback on that in my group.
Yeah, you quite frankly should have. Yeah.
Coach Jason Ackerman on Instagram. Yeah, if you want to check it out.
So the point is we're reclassifying what the focus point is. Now, there are some sticky points with this, which is you have to be pretty tuned into the programming and in order to give the appropriate stimulus, because you can mess this up royally if you don't know what you're talking about and you give stimuluses that are way off or not achievable. Okay. Because then everybody's missing the mark when they do this and you look like an idiot. So now when we write the workouts, they look very different. So we'll give rep ranges and we'll give loading ranges and say anything in these windows is what we're going to push you towards, and there's no wrong answer. Just get to the stimulus. So and what we're doing, go ahead.
Is there an overscaling? Like, can somebody, if you have an athlete being 100% sincere, they're like, I need to do one pull-up, but I'm going to do a pull-up. I struggle with kipping, so it's strict. 2 solid push-ups, 3 squats, and they get 22 rounds. They get that RX check.
Right.
So there's no scaling too far. So
there is scaling too far if they miss the stimulus.
Right, they get too many rounds.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And would you tell those people, hey, you don't get this today?
I would. So again, we're not trying to be like you didn't get it. This whole thing is about teaching people, right? Getting them to understand their own capacity, getting them to move a little bit outside of their comfort zone. Or the things that are in the norm for them to kind of stretch themselves a little bit and learn, right? So the whole purpose of this is to get people to really start to learn and understand intensity and how it actually works.
I love that aspect of it. And I also love the fact that there's going to be a lot of people that have never had that opportunity to click the RX button.
So that's the other point is just the psychological aspect of it. Taking these people who, quite frankly, will never touch the RX button unless it's a 1 mile run or something like that. But if it involves anything other than a straight monostructural, they'll never do it. And that is part of it too. Is to de-emphasize like these absolutes with regard to weight and rep schemes and shift the focus towards intensity. The first time we ever did it, we got a lot of pushback on it because it was new, right? But now people really dig it. But now people dig it.
Before we dive into the pushback aspect of it, I mean, obviously we don't need to go into every workout. You have to know what the stimulus is, and then the scaling. As we've discussed recently, load time reps are probably going to be the first 3 things you look at. Beyond that, you might look at just movement function. So, like you mentioned. Maybe instead of pull-ups, you're doing ring rows or maybe push-ups to a box, but you're keeping the same function. I had a mutual friend of ours. I don't want to say their name in case they have some listeners from their box, but this person was losing their mind that too many people, try to hit RX, so they wind up missing the intended stimulus. And, my first response oftentimes in 2020 and beyond is, who cares? Right? Like someone's cheating. Like, oh my goodness. If you go into the CrossFit affiliate owner group or whatever the name of it is these days, once a week, someone asks, hey, we got rep shavers. How do we handle this? And I
had a coach come into my gym on Friday, and that was one of the main things.
From another gym?
That's one of the main things they wanted to talk to me about. Like, what do you do? And I said, I don't care. There's one hard line in the sand for me with regard to that.
What's that?
And it is if they are talking shit to other people and rubbing it in people's faces. That's a culture problem. But outside of that,
you know what? That's regardless if someone's cheating, though.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Saying, yeah, this is just it. Now it rubs people the wrong way. Right. So like this person's like, they're obnoxious, but now if they're obnoxious and they're lying, now you're an asshole. Right. So like, that's what I want to prevent.
I mean, let's be real. If someone's cheating at CrossFit, they're an asshole to begin with, or they have
fair enough.
Or they have issues, and I think that's what. Oh my God, I don't know why, but that just rubs me the wrong way. We had a post. I put something up. It's probably over a month ago now, where Greg Amundsen was talking about it. And go back on our Instagram and find that clip, or go listen to the full podcast that we had. Greg Amundsen, amazing human being. He has another book coming out. The dude puts out like a book a week, but he talks about it, and he talks about it not just from an OG perspective, but a little bit of a spiritual / religious perspective. Go listen to it. But point is, my response for almost anything in the box that's like intangible is, why do you care so much? These people are, A, they're paying you. B, they're just there to have the best hour of their day. So, our mutual friend was losing their mind. And after saying that, I'm like, hey, if you don't want to do RX month, like maybe you're listening to this and you're like, I like this, I'm not quite ready to dive all in. I would challenge you to do it. Fern's got an amazing box, amazing community, years of experience, and he does it. Do you do it once or twice a year?
Just once
a year. But
yeah, doing it more than that would be, I think it'd be a little bit cumbersome. It does take, there's a lot of mental drain there in that month, not just for like writing it, but for the coaching staff.
But maybe you do one workout a week and you say, hey guys, if you don't, and you brief it at the whiteboard. Like, I don't care if you use 95 on today's workout. If it takes you more than 8 minutes, do not click that RX button. And you know what? If they do, you use Wodify, right?
Right.
Yeah, so do we at the box. We have that RX button. Who cares? Again, it goes back to the who cares. But at least you're doing your part to educate them. But I would challenge you, if you're feeling uncomfortable doing this, again, lean into it. That uncomfort, that discomfort is exactly why you need to do it, because it's not only going to benefit your box, it's going to make you a better coach.
That was where I was going to go with this. That is one of the key aspects of this. Is it is definitely going to challenge your understanding of scaling, of stimulus, of human interaction. There's so many things here that this will start to like shed light on. And so the question always comes up is, okay, obviously we know if we're under that, then we would miss a stimulus. So what I always tell people, I'm like, under or over doesn't get it, right? So if somebody smashes a workout and they're like way over on the intended stimulus, that doesn't count either.
You mean they're faster.
Right. So if we gave the stimulus of like Cindy, that's not a good one.
No, you're doing Fran, and we say the stimulus is 2 to 7 minutes, and somebody does it in 1 minute and 10, they miss the stimulus as well. Fail. Unless, of course, you went RX.
Right, yeah.
And even then,
right,
you'd argue that, hey, you're no longer a 95-pound Cindy. Fran. There's plenty of people, you look at the games athletes, they exceed the stimulus at this point. Isabel was not meant to be 58 seconds. Isabel, right, 30 snatches was probably meant to be 2 to 5. All the classics are really, I believe, like that 2 to 7 minute range.
Yeah, and I think it's just, so again, the whole point of this is just to get people to make these subtle shifts in their mindset with regard to, this is how you break, we'll use I just like to pick on my soccer moms and the 9M. This is an easy way to break people of the 65 or 55 pound barbell.
It's also,
hey, listen, go 70, right? Because again, just to get people to understand, there's no magic in any of these numbers with regard to the 65 pound barbell. Like, do 70, do 75, do 80, just make a change in here to challenge yourself, because we have so much play here to mess around with. And then what you'll see is you're going to see people start making some gains if you game this correctly.
Yeah, and that's why I like that month idea, because in 30 days you can see some tremendous progress. But
you're going to cover all sorts of, you're going to cover like run distances, people who don't ever run 400 meters, like all sorts of stuff.
And that's going to carry over to
100%. Like you said,
the people that, the soccer mom said, no matter what the workout is, they throw 10s on a Bella bar, they're going to be like, oh wait, it's thrusters. And I remember I did it at 65, or, when it was deadlift, I worked up to 115. So now all of a sudden they have that reference, and really it's not just about getting them to understand the stimulus, but what we're really promoting is, you go back to all these episodes, is understanding intensity.
Right. So now from a coaching standpoint, a couple pitfalls here is like, if you really don't have this dialed in, you're going to blow it. So play around with it yourself on the front end. You'll miss on everybody. Right. So there's the big picture, which is like, you just give a stimulus that is absolutely outside of the realm of what should be happening. The other thing is, typically particularly less experienced coaches, they think of scaling in only one direction. Right. So if we're going to scale down on everything. When you're going to do this, in order to get people to the stimulus, like, you're going to have to do both within inside of the same workout. So I may scale. Let's stick with the monostructural stuff, like a run or a row. So the people who typically never run 400 meters, or they never row 500 meters, because they're just typically outside of that 2 to maybe 2.5 minute window that's appropriate for something like that. And they're just like, hey, I think I'm going to run the 400s today. Your immediate thought should be in that was like, I know they're going to take longer. What of the other movements or things do I need to adjust that keeps them on target for this? Meaning, like, okay, if they are going to run a little bit longer and that's not their strong suit, it doesn't fall in their wheelhouse, when they come back to the barbell, I may need to have like a lighter load so that they can move a little bit faster to get back to that. So you're going to have to play around with multiple facets of the workout, some of which you normally wouldn't adjust. But if we're factoring in the fact that they're going to be challenging themselves with something that they don't typically do, I'm going to need to make this other one less difficult. And athletes they're going to have a little pushback. They're going to say, well, I typically always use that barbell. Remind them, you don't typically run 400 meters. That means this is going to be way more challenging. So that's going to be way harder than normal is. I want this to be a little bit easier than it typically is, because I want you to stay on task so that we can hit X time or X number of rounds. And they're going to be like, okay, yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. You know, my parents are divorced. I grew up with I love all four of my parents, but my stepfather was probably like the most parental in my life. And two things that he said to me throughout my childhood were, life's not fair. And
did he live with my dad?
And because I said so.
Yeah. Well, we had the same father growing up there.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. And the other word that he was to throw around is no.
Yeah. Well, I got that.
Can I have no?
No.
What about no?
And I was like, man, when he said that, I was like, shit, he said so. Like, I guess that's it. Like, you don't even think about it. Like, you say that to Chappie or Logan, they're like, well, Dad said so.
Oh, and so. Or what was the other one? Is like so and so, or I'd be like, well, Jay gets to go to the party. He's like, I'm not Jay's dad.
Yeah, I had that one, but that's where we get the life's not fair. Like, and I think about it to this day, like, it resonates in my head. But I was like, man, when he said that, I accepted it. And I think if you're listening to this and you're an athlete, you should treat your coaches with that same respect. Like, this is their job, their career, their livelihood. They put time, effort. Hopefully they're listening to this show. If not, send it to them so they listen to our podcast. We just had another person reach out to us today, thanking us for the podcast. They passed their level 3. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have thanked us for helping them pass their level 3 just by listening to the show. But the point is, don't be afraid as a coach to be like, because I said so. You know, especially when you know, like, there was 99% of the time my stepfather said that to me, he was right, and he was protecting me from myself.
Right.
And,
yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing here. As you have to remember as a coach, maybe you're not protecting the athlete, or maybe you are. Maybe if they don't learn this now, they're going to blow out their shoulder in 2 years, or burn themselves out, or just do something incredibly dumb. So or going back to what we talked about in a previous episode, or it affects the rest of the class because it's not done on time, you know, end things before they should be done type deal. If this person's still chugging away at this workout because they're just so hard headed on it and it ruins everybody else's experience, like, that's not fair to the other 15 people in the class, because Jay thinks he can front squat 185 for 21 consecutive reps. Yeah. So what do you ever do? Do you ever have this issue? I wouldn't say it was an issue yesterday because of the way classes ran, but that Hanukkah workout, we had a 32-minute cap. People don't finish, but then they continue to go. So I think it depends. I think there's definitely value
and letting people do that.
And for the record, I would be upset if I was like in that last round and my coach was like, "You're like just mentally, I don't care about putting my time down. I want to finish what I started."
Right, particularly on a workout like that, where it's like a hero workout or a holiday workout, where the whole purpose of this entire get together is just to be together and to celebrate something.
Right.
It's not a typical day of training.
Right, and you didn't call it a 32-minute AMRAP because that changes things. You told
Exactly.
me it was 8 rounds for time.
Exactly.
Don't make me do 7.3 movements or whatever.
We have that. We have another a girl here who I love, but like there's occasionally she'll do that for some of the other ones where it doesn't happen very often. It happens like a couple times, 3-4 times a year. But like it happened the other day. We were doing a salt bike workout, and everybody was done, and I don't remember if there was a time gap or not. But she was just like, "I'm finishing the last round." I was like, "Okay, knock yourself out."
Yeah, and think so long as it's not interrupting the next class.
No, yeah, we had total time. Like I had planned it. We had something to of 10 minutes at the end of class, and I'm like, the extra 3 minutes here is not a big deal. She's going to be happy. Everybody else is still recovering. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so long. Again, that goes back to don't make everything that we say a blanket rule or an absolute. Like people mess up. I mean, the 8 days of Hanukkah workout, for example, or the 12 days of Christmas, or any long workout, sometimes you're just like, you don't know what's going to happen in the middle. I mean, I was doing, for example, the 8 days of Hanukkah, like 3-minute rounds for the first 4 rounds, and then all of a sudden it plummeted, right? So
yeah, your lack of fitness kicked in.
It caught up to me, that's for sure. But the point is, it's not like Fran where you're like, okay, there's 45 reps. If I do the 21, I'm broken, as my coach said. It's really hard to be too far off this stimulus, right?
Well, and that's a perfect example of really understanding the stimulus. So with regard to giving the range, if you're going to do RX month or RX week or RX day or whatever, the duration or the time domain of the workout should determine how large of the window is for RX. So do something to the tune Filthy 50, for example. So you and I both know on the crazy fast end
16,
17 minutes, but like on average 20 to 25, right? 20
so you might go 16
minutes.
to 26. That might have
so
a
what
10 minute
right? Exactly right. So the longer workouts that has multiple opportunities for people to fall behind, those windows should be larger because that's not weird. As the time domain gets shorter, the window should be tighter. And again, this is how you start to going this same principle with regard to writing a lesson plan. This is how you evaluate yourself as a coach, right? All these people that constantly reaching out to us about, hey, I don't have anybody to give me feedback, right? Like nobody's doing this. You can give yourself feedback. Right, by like dialing up these scenarios, like write a lesson plan. Like you don't necessarily need somebody else to give you feedback. You can evaluate yourself if you write a lesson plan. Put something in there that you know you're going to struggle with. Were you effectively able to do that or not? Did I hit the timelines? Was I on the 32-minute mark when I said 3, 2, 1, go, or was it 37? And now that's my feedback moving forward. So I have empathy for people that really want that feedback, and it is super important. But don't overlook the fact that you can do a lot of this yourself and do this self-evaluation. I mean, like that's what I did a lot of it. I didn't always have people there to give me feedback. It's like you got to challenge yourself in these different aspects so that you can do a little, self-exploration rather than just leaning on other people all the way. Now, you should do both, obviously, but RX month is a really nice way to challenge your skill set from a coaching standpoint of, are you factoring in the appropriate timelines in your lesson plan? Are you getting people into the desired stimulus? And with that, like what would I change each time with regard to scaling? So, I mean, there's a lot of facets of playing around with this idea and make it your own. Like do it however you want. Like that's the point of all this. But there's a lot to be gained by playing around with it. My only recommendation is you shouldn't do it too frequently.
Yeah, but that feedback piece is something you mentioned on a recent episode where that you can give yourself evaluation for classes. Obviously, it's always great to have another set of eyes on you, but those yes or no things like you mentioned. Hey, did class end on time? Yes. Did everyone fall within this time domain that I said? Yes or no? And then you can start digging deeper. Did I start the general warm-up on time, the specific warm-up? And those are some easy things that you can start to self-reflect on with just simple check marks.
Yeah, and that's what RX month allows you to do, or this RX idea, which is like, I'm not emphasizing the loads, the reps, and all that stuff. I'm emphasizing what should be the result of this, and then did I do this effectively or not? It's pretty yes or no. If everybody was in the window, then fantastic. And then you'll have some people that are outside of the window, and some of them it's not even weird. Like I wouldn't even count those as missed. Like those people, I just know that those people are super fit or something like that, and they're just going to smoke past that. And for some of those people particularly, it's a little harder to dial up what potentially the scale up would be. Or that
You're always going to have outliers. You're always going to have outliers.
Right, but if the bulk, if 85% of the class is in that desired window, that's a huge win. That's a huge win that you're on the right track.
Yeah, and again, easy way for you to self-reflect and learn more. I think that's the beauty of this RX month. And agreed with Fern, this is probably an annual thing. I think January could be an ideal time. You're going to potentially get a lot of new people in the box. An easy way to assimilate them into class, where you're kind of having that challenge of how do I get my veterans to do this plus this new person. And you know what? If you, again, are maybe afraid to do it, RX week. You could do an RX week, and maybe that could be quarterly. But I like the month for the record because of what we discussed. It's really a learning opportunity. That's how you have to look at it. It's a learning opportunity for you, for your coaching staff, and for your members.
So a couple of pitfalls there with regard to doing it during the new year. This is easier facilitated when I don't have this anticipation of a lot of new people. So I wouldn't do it in a scenario where I have like bring a friend week. I wouldn't do it on that week.
Yeah, you don't want to do too much, of course.
Well, the reason for that is I've got people who have little to no experience and already have a million questions, and the vagueness of this idea now becomes super intimidating because now they feel like they are supposed to know the answer. Yeah. So with regard to that, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it there. I would recommend it like in a specifically. That's why we do it in November. We don't have a ton of influx of new people in November. We do bring a friend week in October. It's going into the holidays in December. That's why we do it there. So
I like it.
So just things to consider with regard, because like you will have people that will have a lot of questions about this, and have empathy for the fact that there are a lot of people that are not going to like this because they come to the gym to be told what to do, not to try to figure things out.
But you are telling them what to do.
For sure, but this is going to make them uneasy. They're like, why don't you just tell me what weight to use? Like I'm telling, those people exist. They're going to be out there. So for those people, be prepared to just give them the answer. But you move the needle for them. Like, hey, you're going to do 87 pounds because you like 85, and you're going to do 1 month per, things like that. So just be prepared for that. For
the record, that you should be doing that every day, whether you realize it or not. I mean, I coach consistently 1 day a week for 3 classes, and I know I can tell you with any given workout that you program me, what every athlete in that class needs to do to hit that stimulus.
Yeah.
90% of the time. I'll make a mistake here or there, but people are always like, how'd you remember I deadlifted, 185 for 3 months ago? I'm like, I don't remember much in my life, but I remember what happens in the gym for some reason. I'm sure that's just years of training my brain that way. I can't remember, my anniversary, but I can remember what, Fern deadlifted. But
I know your anniversary.
But the thing is, that's something you should be doing consistently.
Yeah, you should be doing that anyway. RX month is just a way to challenge your skill set and just frame the idea of intensity a little bit differently.
Love it. So you just did it in November. Mm-hmm. Do you have any maybe wins that you can talk about from that month?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think I have any specific ones. That just November was really kind of a whirlwind month for a whole lot of reasons. I think the holiday party overshadowed everything else that was going on. So like we were running RX month, but it was, for lack of better terms, just kind of running in the background.
The super spreader event that you had in Virginia.
The super spreader event. Yeah, it was just that RX month was just kind of running in the background and probably didn't, because I think this is the 3rd or 4th time that we've done it.
People get it.
Well, and the coaching, it doesn't require as much from bandwidth from the coaching staff anymore to do it. Like it's just kind of on autopilot.
And people are probably, especially your veteran members, you do it once, they're good. Like now they're just like, so this is a normal day. Like I always would skill. By the way, where's my mug from the party?
Your wine tumbler?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm not
wearing
it today.
I thought you were talking about your 100 wad mug, and I was like, you gotta do 100 wads, bro. You gotta do.
I wear my CrossFit Rife hat almost every day. I would love, some more. I thought you were wearing a CrossFit Rife gear.
No, this is Rogue. Yeah, because this show is sponsored by Rogue Fitness.
Yeah, it should be Katie, Phil.
In the sense, it's sponsored in the sense that I purchased this from Rogue and I'm wearing it on the show.
Did you see that they're making bikes now?
Like off-road bikes, or?
Well, from the look of it, it was a 1-speed, so like a commuter bike.
It's dope. I'll buy one.
It was, I know, right? It was on Katie's personal Instagram. I think someone shared it.
I'm pretty sure I follow her, but she doesn't ever post anything.
She's posting a little bit more often, but I think somebody shared it. I think it was actually Hobart.
I just follow Bill for the food.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it before. The fact that they're just incredible. But just for the record, we're wrapping up our 2020 shows. We are looking for one main sponsor for 2021. So if you're listening, you're a small business or a big business or virtual, and you want to hit us up, where we have a couple people that have reached out already. If you want to be considered, we're looking for one sponsor for 2021. So Bill, I know you're a regular listener. If you want to hop in, we'll consider you as well. We'll consider Rogue. But
Bill, and if you're not aware of the show or wondering who we are, just Body by Jay. Body by Jay.
Third ever purchase for. Honestly, they could sponsor this podcast at probably an astronomical number, and it's like a rounding error for them at this point.
Oh, I'm sure.
So. All right. Well, enough about that. RX month. Check it out. If you have specific questions about it, you could always email us, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com. Something else that we have launched in the new year is our Patreon account. It's patreon.com/besthouroftheirday. And we're doing something unique in there for a very low cost. We're going to do a monthly Ask Us Anything. So if you're a coach or you're a box owner or you're a member and you want to ask us specific questions about RX month or anything that we ever discuss, consider supporting the show. And once a month, you'll get a private episode that doesn't air on all the normal platforms, only in our Patreon account. And I'm sure you can find out more about that on our Instagram. Shout out to Katie for doing a great job there. All right, Fern. Anything else to add there?
No, we're just going to have to introduce Katie to the listeners at some point.
Yeah, well, we've both been on her podcast. She's got the Keep Moving Forward podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
But she's a great girl, and she's been helping with the social media. And if you appreciate it and you like it, feel free to give her a follow and a shout out. And definitely check out our Patreon. And again, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com. All right. Give RX month a try. That's all we can really say about it. Awkward silence. You want to say something?
Dude, you're the worst at closing these out. Like, I feel
let's come up with something. If you're a listener,
at this point, I feel like we just have to continue fucking this up because people find it comical.
I don't know if they find it comical or tiresome, but if you listen, give us an ending because we need something. We need something.
Do Jay's job for him, please, everybody.
Somebody help me. RX this for me. I scale the endings.
Yeah, blew it.
So you never miss an episode of the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel and on all major podcasting platforms at Best Hour of Their Day. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being a part of the best hour of our day. See you next time.